I love talking about my different fandoms and favorite video games and movies and TV shows as much as the next person, but there are things happening right now in our country that need to be talked about. It's political, it's not good news, it's things that are uncomfortable to talk about but that need to be talked about and need to be brought attention to. People need to know and stay informed of what is going on. Below in my video description there is an ever-growing list of people, social media accounts, organizations, and websites that are standing up to the hatred and violence we are seeing by our quote-unquote President Trump. Check out any of the links and social media accounts that I have at the bottom of my description to stay informed and to find out how you can help fight back. Just like Captain America said that it doesn't matter what the mobs or the politicians tells you. It doesn't matter if so many of them is saying something wrong is something right. And if they come to you saying that, telling you to move, it is your job to stand there and plant yourself beside the river of truth and say, no, you move. Hatred and ignorance and fear is not what makes our country great. Hey geeks and gamers, what's up? Welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine, and today we are enthusiastically geeking out about religion in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But first, I want to ask you one question. What are you gaming on? If you want your answer to be featured in an upcoming video, let me know what game you're playing, what you like about it, and what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming segment of What You Gaming On. We're going to go ahead and jump into what I've been gaming on, and I am back to gaming on WoW. Right now, a lot of players are probably coming back because they just released their 8.2 patch for World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth Rise of Ashara, which has introduced this whole new zone of Nazjatar. Sorry, I keep wanting to say like Vazjatar because there was the other area that was Vasjir, but now this is Nazjatar, which seems to be like the Naga's home, which was essentially part of the Broken Islands with all of the elf history before the Naga became before the Naga when they were back to being elves. There's a whole history behind it, but this is like the big fight against Queen Ashara and the Naga, so we're going to be seeing what's going to be happening there. But personally, the thing that I was really looking forward to this patch was the introduction of the new set of heritage armor for the Tauren, because I had my Tauren Paladin that I've been working to get to 120 and then exalted with Thunderbluff, ready to get the heritage armor when it came out. So finally, when the patch dropped, I resubbed, got back into the game, and found out that the heritage armor wasn't like actually initially available for Tauren who were already level 120, max level, and exalted reputation with Thunderbluff, which was really confusing. And I had to do a lot of digging and a lot more quests throughout Nazjatar, and then on another character to do all of the war campaign. Like, I had to do all of these other steps to just get the heritage armor for my Tauren that I want, which you can see in the video, which I think looks amazing. I think that the heritage armor that they are releasing into this expansion has been fantastic. Like the heritage armor and the allied races have been my favorite part of Battle for Azeroth. And I think the new allied races look fantastic. I love the heritage armor. It's the thing I've been most focused on in this expansion. So the fact that I had to go through like 1,000,001 different more steps just to get to my Tauren heritage armor, including doing some dailies, which I hate doing dailies. I also hate doing rep grinds. It kind of drove me insane to the point that I was not having fun for the first full week that this patch had launched. Like it was kind of like going back through when I'm like tediously and monotonously grinding for the other races like the Zandalari Trolls or the Honorbound, the Magkar, which was just the worst possible grind I have ever been on in this game. But that's been a big focus of this patch, is rep grinding and doing all of these things to earn these allied races and these heritage armors, instead of them just giving them to you, and a majority of it is just rep grinding, which, again, I hate doing. And a lot of people on one side are going to say that, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to get these cool things, without some kind of challenge. You should have to earn them. And I agree with you there. I do. And I don't mind doing some kind of challenge. Maybe it's you have to do like, I don't know, some kind of really challenging quest line or something, or even just like do the some special dungeons or something, like something that's actually a challenge and something that would actually just not be so tedious and repetitive that it makes me just want to not play the game anymore. Because that's all rep grinding does for me. It just makes me not want to play WoW anymore. And even if this patch kind of does start to get into more of the backstory of Battle for Azeroth, whereas like it's always been, I mean, so far it's pretty much been focused on the Zandalar, the islands of Zandalar and the islands of the Kultiris. But this one, it was a lot more about, like, you got to go through the scenario where you save Bane, who betrayed the war chief Sylvanas, who she was going to have him executed. So, like, which I'll admit this was pretty cool, where I got to play, like, my orc shaman wielding the Doomhammer with Sourfang, the warrior, and then Thrall, who his new model looks amazing. The way he looks now looks fantastic. Like storming the gates with those three, like with my orc and those two characters, like it was amazing. It was awesome. I also love that I definitely love Sourfang and Thrall and Bane. I love the tribal races of the Horde more than I like the elves. But I like Lorthamar Thuron. I don't hate the Nightborn. But I definitely like the more tribal races of the Horde. So in one aspect, I do like that part of the story, but I do have to admit that this story has 100% been just recycling the same story from Mists of Pandaria. Whenever we went up against Garrosh, and then we had Horde leaders break off and do sneaky things behind Garrosh's back, and then we called in Thrall to save the day. It's basically the same story. Anyway, it's only been a week that this patch is out, and I finally did everything in it that I needed to do to get the things that I wanted. So I'm kind of back doing past stuff that I need to do, like, of course, grinding more reputations for pathfinding and just all of these other little things, especially leveling up the rest of my characters. But so far, just a week out, I did not like Nazjatar. Hopefully, when I get back into it, I'll have to do... I'll probably still be just grinding out rep in Nazjatar, so we'll see. But so far, I've hated being in Nazjatar. But anyway, that's what I've been gaming on. Now I want to hear what you've been gaming on. So tell me the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video. So now let's get into this week's topic of religion in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A couple things I want to say before we jump into this. I'm not talking about like the specific tenets of religion. Also, just something else to preface. I've grown up Christian. Now consider myself atheist agnostic at best. So if you don't want to hear any of this from someone who is not Christian or not a specific religion, you might want to turn back now. But anyway, I do want to talk about, and I've wanted to talk about this for a while now, ever since Punisher Season 2 came in, where there was a group, I don't know if they were like a cult or just people who lived very simply, fairly like the Puritans did, but there was a group of Christian extremists that were basically sent after the Punisher for really dumb reasons that I don't need to go into, but they were Christian extremists. And it got me wondering because, yes, a lot of our like knee-jerk reactions to things like that is like, no, that's crazy. No, there's nothing to support those ideas. There's nothing there for. That's a terrible, they're in the wrong. And that's in the real world. But if we're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we have to consider that there is that chance that there is some reality behind each religion. So Christianity isn't the only one that's been shown within the MCU. It's not, Punisher isn't even the only one that Christianity has been touched on throughout the MCU. You also consider another Netflix show, Daredevil. Matt Murdock was very Catholic. He wasn't just a kid who grew up in a Catholic orphanage. He was Catholic. Like, he went to, I don't know if you ever saw him go to Mass, but he went to confession. He often told people not to use his own Catholicism against him. And then Season 3, that was a big part of Season 3 of him kind of dealing with his shaken faith and whether he would like reject his faith or not. It was a big theme of season 3. So of course we might want to throw these topics away or just kind of pass by them, but we have to consider that this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe when there are gods and goddesses, especially if we look at Thor. In the MCU, Thor and the Asgardians and Odin, all these characters, they're basically aliens. Like, they're basically aliens from another planet or another realm or another dimension or something from another place in time and space. That's where they're from, but they obviously came here to Earth at one point. I think Odin even said it, like, it was like, oh yeah, this is where we arrived when we first came to Midgard. So they've definitely come here in the past and were worshipped as the Nordic theology, as the Nordic pantheon by the Vikings, that those became their gods. But now within the MCU, we know that the Asgardians and Thor, they're just other beings. They're definitely higher powered beings. They're definitely aliens which have a lot more enhanced strength and abilities than humans do, but they are higher beings. So just imagine the person that was like worshiping the Nordic gods all his life, who worships Thor and Odin for all his life, and then suddenly he sees Thor fighting aliens in New York, and he just loses. He's like, I was right all along. So considering that, there is some sense of reality behind some of the religions that have been shown and could be shown. Just a few other examples in Runaways. Now, Runaways deals with the Church of Gibborim, which is clearly a kind of representation of Scientology, but it is a church that is founded on a set of tenets that seem fairly scientific, seem fairly science fiction. You know, they talk about a higher being from space who's going to come down and shine their rainbow light. As ridiculous as this sounds, we do see in Runaways that the Church of Gibborim are worshiping an actual thing. Now, not everyone within that church probably realizes that. They probably, or don't really believe that, or maybe they do. But we see in Runaways, we see that those beings of light are real beings. They are real. Jonah was there. He came down to Earth, and he was what the person who founded the Church of Gibborim founded those tenets on, was his being, his alien being. So even if this church is definitely on the more fanatic side, there's an actual reality behind it. There are actual beings behind it. Another example would be looking at Cloak and Dagger, where the topics of voodoo and voodoo and that religion and those practices have been a heavy influence on the show, especially in season 2, when you're actually seeing some of these characters practicing voodoo and voodoo in the show to help Tandy and Tyrone do what they need to do, and they go into these different dimensions or these different portals that seem to be where the gods, or at least these higher beings that are worshipped in voodoo, reside. And you see, you see Papa Legba, and you see another one I don't remember the name of, but you see these actual beings in these actual realms that do physically alter and influence some of the things in the real world. So I just think that's really fascinating. You know, I think that, you know, obviously in the real world, we're going to have that argument of what's real and what's not real, what we have faith in, what we don't have faith in. But in the MCU, those ideas are completely different because it's entirely possible that at some point in time, some other higher being from another realm or another planet was on Earth. Like, it's entirely possible that within the MCU, there was a Jesus who came down and healed the sick and walked on water and did all of those miraculous things. It's entirely possible that there is like a Greek pantheon somewhere, somehow, that did exist on Earth at one time. That there really is a Zeus and an Ares and a Hercules. Now, I know I don't specifically want to talk about the actual comic books of Marvel because I don't know. I'm sure there probably are a lot of examples of real-world religious figures that are in the Marvel Comics. I personally don't know. I do know that there is one named Hercules. I don't know what his deal is, if he's the real Hercules, or if that's just something he's called. But it's entirely possible within the MCU that these religions have actual facts at their founding. Now, what that says about real world religions, that's not what I'm trying to talk about. That's not what I'm trying to say one or the other. I'm just saying it's something really interesting to think about, that it's entirely possible that there are, and I'm a big fan of American Gods, both the book and the TV show, and I've also been watching Lucifer, just binge watching Lucifer finally, and something I like about those shows and those stories is that they kind of twist those theologies into not so much a theology but a mythology. Like, if you take all of the influence that the Bible has, it makes for a fantasy story. It makes for this fantasy epic. Whether you like it or not is completely up to you, but it does, like the Bible as a video game without the actual, I guess, religious connotations would be interesting to play through those events that do happen in the Bible. So, I just think that's really fascinating, that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe there could be real beings who perform these things that are attributed to gods, that religions were founded on, that the entire Nordic theology founded on, because Thor and Odin and Loki came to Earth, came to Midgard at some point, and were then revered as gods for thousands of years later. I think that's really interesting whenever we can sit there and talk about like how the real world works within this fictional universe. And that's something that's something I really like thinking about. If Thor is real, if the Nordic theology is real, then are there other theologies that are based in fact within the Marvel Cinematic Universe? But now I want to hear from you. What do you think of this idea of other religions being represented throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join in the conversation. If you want to see any more of my written work or any more videos, you can go to my blog, treyguillotine.blogspot.com, or my YouTube, youtube.com/tguillotine. And remember, if you want your What You Gaming On to be featured in an upcoming episode, tell me the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it in the comments of this video or on any of my social media, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching. Have fun.